Confusion Factor.
Hello, I'm Justin Oldham, and you're listening to a YouTube special edition of our discussion on artificial intelligence for the tabletop role-playing game AC After Collapse. Gadgets, Devices, and Computers is a source book for AC After Collapse. It's available through Amazon.com and DriveThruRPG.com. AC After Collapse is a role-playing game with a wide range of modular features built into it. It accommodates everything from crafting to mystery solving to as much complexity in weapons, armor, ammunition as you could possibly want. Now, in this edition here on YouTube, we're going to be talking about the nature of artificial intelligence as we modeled it in the game. When we prepared to publish this product, we were looking at more than game mechanics. We were looking at storytelling tools. So we had to think forward into the future with the idea of adaptability in mind. So, like some games do, they will ascribe certain attributes to their artificial intelligences that human player characters have. So we've borrowed a little bit from that. So the one thing that artificial intelligence has in common with flesh and blood characters, so to speak, is the attribute of reason. Now, in the case of artificial intelligence, we've said that their creativity is either driven by hardwired programming in hardware or programmed attributes as in software. So we have a little bit of complexity here. I don't want to scare anybody off, but machines such as computers and robots and androids, they have a certain amount of knowledge and guidance parameters built into their hardware. This is what we refer to as system programming. So in a great many gadgets, devices, computers, robots, and androids, they'll have a built-in system reason. And if you can think of that in human terms, it's almost like the muscle memory that you have, or the learned behaviors that you have. And those things only go so far, and the rest of what you know how to do, the true knowledge, the true skill that makes you the person you are and the subject matter expert you are, all of that is built into program reason. Now, without putting anybody to sleep, that's the short answer when it comes to the attributes that humans have in common with the artificial intelligence in this game. More than anything else, we wanted to simulate the fact that artificial intelligence can be many things. It can be the iPad that's sitting there on your desk. Is it looking at you? Is it hearing you? Is it thinking anything about you at all? Or is it just a dumb machine that does whatever you tell it to when you tap on the screen? Artificial intelligence means many different things to many different people. We're all familiar with the Terminator franchise, in which a large number of sentient robots or androids that can pass for human are doing the whole time travel thing, trying to mess with our future. Well, when we looked at how to simulate artificial intelligence in terms of role-playing game mechanics, we thought about the Onion. Now, the Onion, as you know, has many different layers, and so we were looking at how do we portray archetypes, how do we portray the hierarchies, because your toaster is not going to care that the high-end android can pass for human. the high-end Android that can pass for human is not going to give the smart toaster any second thought. But the artificial intelligence at the top of the food chain is going to have some capacity to tell the artificial intelligence at the bottom of the digital food chain what to do. So that was a part of what we had to build into this game. So going back to what we were talking earlier about the programming built into hardware and thus the adaptable software that makes it possible for machines to learn, that's the one eccentricity, the complicated difference between flesh and blood characters and artificially intelligence synthetic characters. When you build, let's just say, a clone or an android, you are differentiating between things that have an inherent capacity to learn and things that may have artificial limitations on their capacity to learn. Now that's a subject for another conversation, but because we're running up against the clock here, I want to wrap up by saying that as we go into the real 22nd century, our understanding of artificial intelligence is going to change beyond what we know it to be today, and whatever comes beyond androids that can pass for human, somebody out there's got the idea. We just haven't integrated it into mainstream society yet. So when it comes to our role-playing games, we need to think about the future adaptivity of our game systems, and that's what we tried to do with AC After Collapse. That's a good question, and it follows on what we were talking about earlier. When we consider what AI motivations are, or what they're likely to be, for the purpose of game mechanics, we're focusing on two things. One is the artificial intelligence that is pro-human and has any number of interests that we would consider to be good for us, and the AI that has anti-human interests. So when we think of that, we very often think of Terminator, Skynet, etc. The artificial intelligence has weighed us, measured us, and found us wanting. So in a post-apocalyptic world where characters are trying to put together a broken puzzle, they're trying to solve the mysteries of the past, they're not always going to know. Are the artificial intelligences they find good, bad, neutral? Do they just not care either way that we exist? That's part of the challenge of the big backstory that we've built into this game, and it does encourage ethical discussions. Were there, in fact, pro-human AIs that worked to stop the collapse? You can easily imagine any number of rogue AIs that wanted to just wipe us off the face of the earth, start all over again. It's the whole blank slate thing. So if there are pro-human AIs out there, again, just like anything else, they can come in many different forms. That smart refrigerator that you like to keep your cold beer in might think well of you. The android that's masquerading as your town doctor might think well of you. When Black Bart, the bad guy gunslinger, comes into town, he might not be what he first appears. So these are all things we tried to factor into the construction of our game mechanics, which again is why machines have the same style of reason that human characters have. In the same way that human characters can benefit from high creativity, high empathy, they can be serial killers when they have no empathy. Artificial intelligences can, at their core, have similar motivations. And while we have built into the backstory the idea that artificial intelligence comes out of nowhere, the origins are mysterious, but full-blown, very intelligent, highly empathic systems step out of the shadows, and they want their sentience recognized. They want their own version of AI civil rights. You can easily see how that's one factor that sets the stage for the collapse. So you add in climate change, eco-terrorism, anything else, you end up with the proverbial collapse of many causes. And because there could have been many causes for the collapse, there can be many different types of threat in the post-collapse world. Maybe there's just some pro-human AIs out there that want to be left alone. Maybe there are some AIs out there that don't care one way or the other. They don't like people, they don't dislike people, they just want to be left alone. And if you're a colony of computers that has no arms and legs, yeah, sure, you're going to think differently than flesh and blood people. So what passes for human morality, what passes for human ethics, these things can easily be vastly different for machines who have different priorities. So if you're a regular run-of-the-mill robot and your expected lifespan could be in the hundreds of years, with or without the capacity to learn, you're going to see the world differently, you're going to think of the world differently. So that's a lot to that's a lot to include in one video segment, but there you have it.
You've been listening to The Fusion Factor, brought to you by Shadow Fusion Books. Find us online at shadowfusionbooks.com.